Good evening. Do we start it off with a well? Did you pay yourselves at least? Leverage traders, did we take something off the table? That's the question. But don't worry. The faster they move up, the faster they move down. But the reaction to what they do after they've moved down aggressively is critical at helping us understand if Bitcoin is going to continue this move to the upside. And it always starts with one candlestick, because that candlestick is the one that gets the party started. Good evening, guys. We've got a little bit of a different tone compared to what it was in the last live stream. We're going to chill out this evening. Excuse me. We're going to chill out. We're going to aim to be professional, at least. Oh, I'm clapping for. Bitcoin. Part and parcel of the hybrid system, which is the system that we trade, is it gives us clues as to what could happen. The longer you expose yourself to this logic of thinking, that means if you are presented with a situation in the charts where you believe it could go down to this point, or it could go up to this point, in my opinion, trading all-time highs is probably one of the most easiest things to do. Why? Because people tend to be somewhat more optimistic than pessimistic, believe it or not. People are more optimistic than pessimistic, which is why you got to be very careful when you're running for shorts, especially in the game of trading, especially when you're trading the S&P. Like today, I'm going to talk you through my trading day where I just took out my frustration on the S&P. We managed to play some shorts on the move to the upside where we opened a few puts to exploit the retrace back down. I actually then ended up exploiting the move back up, which I'm going to talk you through on how to effectively find these opportunities because they are presented to us every single day. We're going to break down Bitcoin's price action to help you understand what could happen next, given that we have had this unbelievable data that's come out suggesting inflation has gone up. And the banks are going to start knocking on Powell's door saying, listen, bro, man, like, come on. Tell us when you're going to cut so we can start moving our mullah. Yields have been climbing up, warranting the idea that investors overseas should be landing up on their dollars. It's going to be a very heated FOMC meeting. That's one thing for sure. I don't think the Fed actually thought they would get this reading today. Well, let's be honest. They know, but they have to play their role to make people believe that it's a surprise to them. Okay? So, mad love and respect for passing through for tonight's live stream. We're going to be good this evening. All right? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Good evening, good evening. Okay? Akbar, I know you're playing, bro. It's all good. Nah, I'm good. Ladies and gentlemen, I am good. I apologize to the gentleman because he was the catalyst. So don't worry about it. It's all love. But if I have to get on one of those rants again, I'm telling you, I will. I will not hesitate. I'm a short fuse, ladies and gentlemen. I shoot from the hip. Let's get with the flavor. I'm a nice person, you know that. I'm a little bit too nice. You know? I don't like to be the bad guy here, you know? Between me and Mr. Dutch, Mike Dutch, it's, Mike, you do it. You tell him. No, you do it. I can't. And, yeah. So mad love to Mike. Mad love to everyone. Shall we get to the charts? Yeah? Let's get with the program. So, 3.2%, man. What a joke. They're even talking about stagflation. Yeah? A stagflation landing. Not a soft landing. Stagflation landing. Where you got inflation up, unemployment up, okay? Interest rates are up. But don't worry. Don't worry. As we've said before, the US debt is growing by $1 trillion every 100 days. Don't worry about it. Because historically, this is what happens. The markets are sailing to the upside. Everything is all good. And then the market needs a what? A reset. Well, now that Wall Street's in crypto, you're going to get your resets in crypto. That's why I'm saying be mindful that the new 20K could be the new 50K. Like, that's where it could be, all right? And the thing that people in cryptocurrency think is that just because Wall Street is involved in cryptocurrency, it means that they're going to also endorse the idea of being and thinking like cryptocurrency, all right? When you see things like this, according to the BBC News in the UK all of a sudden changed its tone. Trump's changed its tone. Consistently reaching new all-time highs nearly on an hourly basis. That is correct. The UK have got that right. Bitcoin was hitting new all-time highs consistently once it broke away from that $70,000 break point mark, whatever. Okay? So you can see, like, it's all now starting. And a gentleman in the Discord even said that a co-worker of his came up to him and was like, hey, man, we're going to like buy Bitcoin. I heard about it in the news. Now, some of you might be saying, yeah, that's the time to sell. Well, like, is it? And this is what brings me to the next thing, okay? When they say this time is different, this time it's different. If you take the actual dynamics of what's going on right now, there would be, if we were to put it in terms of math, all right, it would be skewed more to the idea that it is different this time. Why? Because we have different players in crypto. Jump back over the last 10 years of Bitcoin. We've never had ETFs. We have, but we've never had BlackRock. We've never had this much activity on Bitcoin in a very long time. Look at where we were in the last all-time high. All right? That was all cryptocurrency. That was everyone in crypto. Then everyone in crypto got a slap across the face. Now we're getting back into that point which has been facilitated by Wall Street. So when we understand that this could be different, yes, it's true, because of the mechanisms behind the idea of this Bitcoin. Not the coin itself, that it's for the people and all that. No, the fact that there is a supply. The fact that this new ETF is sustaining Bitcoin's rally because they have to buy the Bitcoin, okay? And when you've got heavyweights like Grayscale, when you've got BlackRock, Grayscale is selling, BlackRock is buying, and you've got Coinbase. All it takes is another big mutual fund to step up and say, yo, we want a piece of this cake. That's going to put more and more pressure on exchanges to relieve their supply. And that's going to then make it harder for Bitcoin to be purchased until Bitcoin then gets to a situation where only the bigger players are really buying it and we're sat on X watching it going up and we just have no avenues to go to it and buy it. There's this thing on certain exchanges where you go and trade, where if you are a professional trader, then you are allowed to trade a certain amount of leverage and you need to provide information on your net worth and explain to them why you are eligible for trading on their platform using their higher leverages, mainly for the UK, all right? I genuinely believe, and I know all this cryptocurrency, the idea of it being decentralized and what have you, I genuinely believe that Bitcoin is going to get swept up by so many big players that in order for you to actually be able to buy it, anywhere that you can buy it, it's all going to be on centralized exchanges, okay? And you have to pass a certain criteria of net worth if you are going to buy the Bitcoin. Okay, I think that is what could end up happening to Bitcoin. I could be wrong. I'm just putting it out there. Okay, but with the way and the rate that Bitcoin is moving at, it's going to go up so much that even someone or the average Joe coming into buying Bitcoin will never be able to own a single Bitcoin. Now, I'm talking if Bitcoin goes to these phenomenal price points like the 200, 300, 400Ks. You can go and buy yourself a stock of Berkshire Hathaway, and that's nearly $605,000. There's nothing stopping you from going to buy that. You're allowed to buy it. But I think with Bitcoin, I just think they're all going to become so attached to it that they could put some legislation in place to stop the average person, and it's only ideal for a professional person or entity or company that is allowed to buy the Bitcoin. That's how they're going to really slow down the supply of accumulating it. I could be completely wrong, but tell me why it's not something that could happen. Some of you might come out and be like, yeah, but by the principle of the blockchain and all that stuff. I'm just talking as an example here. Like, what if Bitcoin is getting this much traction? Capiche? That's where my head's at with that, okay? Sailor's been popping up on Twitter as well, on X. He's actually had, he's actually talking about, where was it? He was talking earlier on, yeah, there you go. Bitcoin is going to eat gold, courtesy of Altcoin Daily right there. He shared it. Mad love for that, because I was looking for that. So it's going to eat gold. Well, Bitcoin's already surpassed silver. It's taken all of silver's market cap. It's taken out Meta's market cap. And it's now on its way to take out Google's market cap. All we need Bitcoin to do now is have a bigger market cap than good old Amazon. That will then really start the party, that it's got more market cap in Amazon. And let's be honest, man, that's nearly $3 trillion market cap, okay? The cryptocurrency market cap itself, not so long ago, was just, well, it was 3 trillion at the all-time high. And Bitcoin, of course, made a lot of that. But just imagine Bitcoin going into 3 trillion market cap by itself. I've said this before, and the OGs will know this, that there will be an instance when the daily turnover for cryptocurrency, and this is not me being bullish or bearish, I've said this before, there will be an instance where cryptocurrency is near enough going to have the same daily turnover as Forex. Roughly speaking, it's around $6.5 to $7 trillion per day. Now, if this is going into the evolution of finance, logic says that we're on our way for that. But it doesn't mean it's just going to keep going up. Does the euro keep going up? No. Because what you've got to understand about Forex is it's all about perceived value, right? How many dollars can I get right now on the back of a strong euro? Well, as a hedge fund manager, if my portfolio is heavily weighted in European stocks, all right, and I see that the dollar is up, for example, I might go and get myself more euros by selling into dollars, okay? And then taking those euros, go and buy some European stocks with a lot of euros, so that when everything starts to mark back up again, I've got a strong euro and I've got higher valued stocks that I can sell back into dollars and get myself my return. Happy days. That's where I think cryptocurrency ideally should be going. And truly speaking, the only coins that are going to be able to do that is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe XRP. Yeah, maybe XRP. But that's another story, okay? Now, moving on. 360, was it? Yeah, $360 million worth of leverage trades wiped. Back into the psychological range, ladies and gentlemen. Funnily enough, it happens to be the reversal point. Remember what we were talking about in the live stream earlier on today. We were talking about the idea that the bids themselves would give us insight into whether Bitcoin has the proof or the capacity to continue to move up, okay? They've come back down into that zone and loaded up, all right? Although the data has disappeared, okay? I can't see how many bids had actually been absorbed. But it looks like it was just a sweep to the downside to only come back up. The issue that we have got, we've seen this before. Go back into Bitcoin's price. Look, sweep lower, back up. We need to see this behavior to mimic what could actually end up happening for Bitcoin. Now, when you look at it, green vector stopping volume candle, there is a potential for them to come back into it because there are people's orders sat in there right now. Okay? Now, this is very important because it's on the back of this move right here that's going to dictate to us if, on the daily time frame, is Bitcoin actually preparing to mark down lower to test the logic that the bids down here are going to find another opportunity to buy Bitcoin. That's what we're looking for. Now, tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to warn you now. I don't know if you've received this notification yet, but I have crypto.com as a wallet, okay? It's where I just buy crypto, sell it, do whatever, all right? They sent me a notification saying that there will be no deposits or withdrawals allowed when they upgrade the Ethereum platform. So there's going to be a bit of a time where you cannot buy or sell or move any crypto on Ethereum via crypto.com. I don't know if you guys have received it by any other platforms, but just be mindful as we stroke the turn of 12 tonight in terms of the new day, and it hits the 13th of March, probably going to see some activity happening on the Ethereum blockchain itself, all right? So just be very mindful. Trading it's not a problem. You can go and play it on Binance or wherever. But I'm talking about actively moving Ethereum and depositing in Ethereum. Crypto.com have told me that there will be a limitation on that. You won't be able to do it during the upgrade period. So just be mindful of that when it actually happens, all right? Cool. So let's get into what's happened today, okay? Let's just go and have a look at where we are. So inflation came in higher, right? Now stick with me on this one. But the NASDAQ and the S&P ended up climbing up. There's that red vector candle recovery region over there on the S&P. Happy days. Why did it move up? Like, hold on. It's bad news. Inflation is up still, right? Why has it moved up? Well, there are a number of reasons to why it's moved up. The first thing is I'm going to talk you through my trading on how I exploited this move. Okay, to the downside and to the upside. Okay, I'm going to break it down for you and talk you through understanding the hybrid system and using EXO charts and using the VWAPs and having an understanding of the actual asset that you are trading. Very important, because if you don't understand how your asset trades, and when I say how it trades, I'm talking about babysitting it. Why do you trade Bitcoin? Is it because your nan's got some or because you've heard it's a good coin to trade? Well, why do I trade Ethereum? I trade Ethereum because it moves so much more better than Bitcoin. That's my opinion. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't trade Bitcoin. It's just I've spent more time watching Ethereum than I have done Bitcoin, but every single day I am projecting off Bitcoin, okay? Ethereum just moves a bit different. It's more volatile, requires less market cap to actually move in comparison to Bitcoin, okay? So we're going to break it down right now. I'm going to talk you through exactly what my trading day has been like and help you understand all of this behavior over here. Okay, so let's get with the program. Here we go. How did we fare today? Well, so I've traded 4 days in the month of March, and we started off on the 8th and we cleared 31,000 on that day. That was a very good day of trading for me on the S&P. And the logic that I'm going to show you now is exactly the same thing that I do. I just wait for it to happen, and I'm going to show you exactly what to wait for, okay? Then the next day after that, we went and made another, I think it was about 12,000 on top, which took it to around 43,025 on our funded accounts. So we'll be getting these withdrawals coming into play very soon. And then we finalized today, and we're at a balance of 61,200, which then brings us towards our, today's trade. Let me just get the picture up because, hold on. Yeah, we'll go back to that in a second. I'm going to show you the picture right now, just so you guys can understand exactly what we're doing today. Is that my picture? Where's my picture? Here we go. Here we are. Right. So for the trading day, this is a challenge account. So when it's a challenge account, it starts with Apex. But when it's a funded account, it's PA. So that's a performance account. So those of you that are trying to do funded accounts, when you've passed the funded challenge, you get a PA account, okay? Now, I traded across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 accounts today, and I had to copy the trades individually by placing the bet manually, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. Now, we did really well today. We took a relatively decent win rate. It was at 92. It should have been 100, but I had to open up a trade and close it because that's another funded account that I've passed. So that gives me another access to $250,000 in funding. But we cleared the day today on $18,000. And these are our wins today. So $5,000 all on the S&P, 1,900 on the other, 4,700 on the other, 1,980 on that account as well. And 21, you can see how I'm copying the trades because the price differences are relatively close. Like on account number 74 is near enough the same to 77. So I'm opening the trade simultaneously after the other, okay? And then these ones here, 4,789 and 4,900, I opened more trades later as the S&P decided to bounce off the VWAP, which is what I'm going to be talking about in a second, all right? So today's been a good day, but I didn't stop there, okay? So before I took these longs on the S&P, all right, I then decided to take some puts. I opened some shorts in options. So I bought some puts when the S&P had made that move to the upside. Ignore the price because it wasn't at that price. The price point of the S&P on the futures market was around, where was it? Let me just tell you right now. the price point of it was at the 2,341 zone, okay? But because on IG index, you're effectively trading, it's a different pricing, different market, because you either have the continuous in the futures markets or just the month of March futures contracts. They're priced out differently, okay? So March contracts could be priced at 5,160. The futures for the continuous could be priced at 5,239. There will always be a different price, but it moves exactly the same way, okay? So we managed to buy some puts on the retrace back down into the recovery of the vector, which was in principle going in towards the VWAP on the S&P. All right, so we managed to see a nice little return there on the options. I'm going to be playing more options because I know the guys in the Platinum membership want to know more about the options. And to simplify it for you, all I'm looking at is just getting in at a decent strike price, implied volatility, sort of in the 20 to 25% percentile range. And I'm just looking at the charts, and I'm assuming that buying puts at this point, I'm favoring price to go down, take advantage, get in, get out. So these were effectively scalps on the S&P. So net for the day, we're looking about $19,500 for the day. That's happy days. We're not doing too bad, ladies and gentlemen, for the month of March. Happy days right there, okay? So that's the statistics. Now let's just have a look at what we're talking about. So these were the zones. I use the NASDAQ. Now, this might look crazy to you, but it's just anchored VWAPs that are updating in real time as I'm trading, okay? But this was the area where I started to run my short on the S&P, okay? Now, what I always say to to guys in the Platinum is always wait for the NASDAQ to make a bold move away from the VWAP. So here's the day's VWAP, which is this purple line. And this concept is no different to Bitcoin. It's no different to Ethereum. It's no different to XRP. Let me just show you Bitcoin for a second. Look, this is what it was like for Bitcoin. Let's get this up. Give it a second. Come on. There we go. All right, then. We marked off these VWAPs, okay, yesterday, all right? And look at how they've been holding these anchored VWAPs. What's going on here? The idea behind an anchored VWAP, or even a VWAP altogether, is the institutions or the players that are bouncing price up and down inside of this range. They are looking for an average of price. Now, they might have clients that are like, right, we've got $50 million of Mr. Client B, and he wants to get rid of it, and we need to get rid of it at a good profit for him, or should we say a good average price, because they simply cannot dump millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of positions into the marketplace. They won't be allowed to do it because it could disrupt the market, okay? You can't just come and drop $15 billion worth. Like, if Grayscale wanted to sell urgently, they would have to do it over a period of time. But when it comes to buying, it's a different ball game. It's like all systems go. But when it comes to selling, someone has to buy that. Yeah? They're happy for it to rise up with phenomenal amounts. There's no limitation to it. See, the Dow Jones will stop trading if it corrects 7% in one trading session. But if it were to rise 7%, you think they're going to stop that? Hell no. Because the only way it's rising is because people are aggressively buying into the guys who are passively selling. So as long as the guys are there to sell to, then the market can keep on climbing, 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 and it will not stop. Okay? Looking at Bitcoin here, you can see how over the period of time from yesterday's VWAP on the Monday, which we marked off, Bitcoin was holding this VWAP. Look how it's going above, below, sweep up, come down. They broke away from the VWAP, came back in to test it, and it's this test right here. It's this test right here that dictates what they were doing all the way here. So they could be, of course, averagely selling above the VWAP to mark it down. And that was the sweet spot right there, which effectively led Bitcoin to mark the price all the way back down. Because the idea is that Bitcoin had made a move to the upside and there were imbalances from the offers over here when previously the bids came in and bought Bitcoin and then they marked it all the way up and sold it. Now here is another opportunity for them to buy it up again. Notice how it's come back into that exact same VWAP. Historically, the average has been triggered. So that tells me that this VWAP, there's players in there that are actively selling Bitcoin from that point, and bidding process starts from that range again. So when Bitcoin decides to start climbing back up again, if it can break above this point here, then we could assume that the participants inside of that area are happy with their positioning. So they're going to want to do it from a higher point, which means then when Bitcoin does climb higher, it's going to be going back into the VWAPs, and then you're going to see a change in the average, which means that they'll be looking to sell higher. So it'll be moving away from the VWAP, coming back into the VWAP to bounce away from it to go up. And that's exactly what we did today on the S&P and the NASDAQ. So let me just show you. So here was the positions that I played on the short side of the S&P. So this is where NASDAQ was previously, just before they started to mark off, and I started to draw off the anchored VWAP from that high point. I said to myself, okay, if the NASDAQ is going to drop from this point, I need to make myself believe that this is where they're going to start actively selling, because they've tried to go up once, they came down. They reversed back up again aggressively, which is a run for the stops, and then they've come back down again. I really need to see them show me the proof that this is going to be the move to the downside, and this is where I started to offload, or should I say, buy the puts on the S&P all the way over here. So I was looking for the S&P to come back down to its daily VWAP from this price point, okay? Then, of course, after that, this is what happened. That VWAP that I previously marked off showed the proof of the pudding, which gave me the reason to believe that I needed to stay inside of this position. I needed to stay in it. And the only reason I need to stay in that short is because NASDAQ was showing the promise of breaking down. Now, NASDAQ then ended up coming back into this VWAP right here. And Platinum members, you know what I always say when it comes to the VWAP, when it consolidates, wait for the pattern, wait for the structure, they will do it. And NASDAQ did that W formation. S&P over there came back into the VWAP. And this is when I started to play the long game and ride the move back up. And then got a new VWAP, new anchored VWAP from here. Marked it at the lows. What do you see? W formation at the VWAP. Shifting out to the upside. They took back that previous VWAP where they were selling from. What does that tell me now? The same logic on Bitcoin was the same logic that come into play here. New VWAP, holding out, averaging to want to sell higher because they were buying as it was going down. And then NASDAQ went on to clear the highs. Look how they come back into that VWAP. Happy days, load up, V-shaped play, shift out to the upside. And that's exactly what the S&P did as well. The S&P came through nice and nice. S&P came in nicely. There it is. The little W formation, that was at that point. Here it is. This point here. It was clean on the S&P. No imbalances below. They've done the business. Yippee-ki-yay to the upside. What was I trading into? Trading into the logic of the vectors. This is on the 5-minute time frame. It was actually on the 1-minute time frame that I was trading off. There's my shorts. There's a W formation. Red vector candle up there. Red vector, red vector, red vector. Split the chart in half. I know you guys heard me say this before. Green vector candle always starts the process. First green vector candle above the 50 EMA. That's where it was. And that's effectively what it ended up doing. Okay? That was my trading day. That is exactly what I look for every single time. To simplify it for you all. The NASDAQ usually gives us the idea what the S&P is going to end up doing. It's going to sound absolutely crazy saying this to you all right? Here's the VWAP, that purple dashed line, all right? This is all you're looking for. Tell me if you see semicircles. Can you see semicircles on the VWAP? Can you see how it moves away from it and then goes this curvature back in? Moves away from it, curvature back in. Moves away from it, curvature back in. Moves away from it, new session, back into the previous session VWAP. Moves away from it, back into that one. Moves away from it, back into that one. And it's always after the New York set or after the London session closes. Look at that. Move away from it, back into it. Semicircles. What do you mean, Tino, semicircles? Are you serious? What I mean by semicircles, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Say you've got the VWAP like so, right? Here's the VWAP. Price is doing this. Up, down, up, down. Then you see a volatile move away from it. What does that tell you? That tells you that there's been an aggressive move away from the volume-weighted average price. So either more people have sold, more people have bought, all right? The best average is going to be at volume at the volume-weighted average price. So naturally, price is going to want to come back towards that point, okay? When you see this curvature, it sounds crazy, but when you see this curvature on the VWAP and price, it's pretty much a semicircle. Might sound crazy, but if I can simplify it for you and help you understand what could be happening inside of this area, there's more to it. Of course there is. There's the bids, there's the offers. You've got to be watching the asset to understand how likely it's going to go back. But why was I building the puts on the S&P after you've seen such an aggressive move up? Because the way it works in the marketplace is they have been aggressively hitting the offers, smacking the offers to the upside, okay? Because they previously had built the bids on the move back down. So if you have a look, when we reset the chart, look left, 15-minute time frame. Look at that. There was the imbalances. Smart money was selling into retail today. We can back that up with what they've been doing lately. Smart money down here, the blue line is at its lower percentile, and dumb money all the way up here, and it's extreme. And then look, S&P's just going up. Okay? Look for semicircles if you guys are trading with the VWAP and the hybrid system. Now, are we all on the same page with this, ladies and gentlemen? Does that make sense? What's this? Let's have a look. Can you call them gumdrops instead? Of course I'm wrong sometimes. I'm not 100% perfect. No chance. I am wrong sometimes. You know? Why would that be your concern? Like, why? You know, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, we're here every day. That's what's important. Okay? Okay. Any other questions? What we got here? Here we go. Mad love to you, RTB. Thank you for the gifted memberships. There you go, guys. So here we go. Solana will accelerate 10x with Fire Dancer update with Google Visa as officials validators for the first time decentralized smartphone. Oh, okay, fine. All right, cool. Thank you. Can you call them gumdrops? Well, we've answered that question right there. Okay, cool. High inflation means high interest. FOMC next meeting, markets dump. Well, this is the logic right now. Was today their last attempt to really sell off on the S&P? Because we are at all-time highs. We know exactly where we stand right now in relation to this, okay? Going into the article, it says here that these inflation numbers precede a rockier period ahead for the Fed, all right? Although the U.S. economy has held up well so far, there is a risk that persistent inflation and the Fed's response to it might turn a soft landing scenario into a soft stagflation one. Okay, so here we go. Tuesday's figures will play an important part in the Fed's thinking when it publishes new projections next week on how many cuts it expects for 2024. All right. So, yep, the general consensus is, yeah, the Fed is probably still on track to cut in June, even though Dimon says that they shouldn't. All right. And the last 2 months of inflation data show the difficulty in returning inflation to the target. Well, Powell's already said it, that even though 2% target might not be something they can achieve, all right, they might be just happy with 3%. If it just stays at 3% and can't go any lower, all right? So it's going to be a very interesting one to see how they are going to play this one across the board, okay? All right, now, let's get into some Bitcoin. Let's understand exactly what the story is. I've done the breakdown right there. So setting on Bitcoin. Yeah, okay. Let's have a look at that. Bitcoin, high block, liquidation levels. Right, look, straight off, okay? We don't really have that many people trading right now. This is the 1 month time frame. This is the 7-day time frame. Just look at this. Not that many liquidations. The only real significant liquidations currently sit at 65,000. So let's go and marry this logic up at 65,000. What's down there at 65K? Well, rather than focusing on the liquidation points, let's understand why we could assume 65K could be a point of a reversal, okay? Well, last time they were at 63K, we had these big orders coming into play right here. You can see 13.76 million, right? Same time, we had these offers coming in at the 65 zone, right? So that's where people were selling. So the idea is that if this person that sold at that price point now has an opportunity to buy Bitcoin on assumptions that it does go down to 65K, because 65K is not too far away, guys. And it would be a valid move to the downside if Bitcoin were to do that, okay? And if you want to stick in your bubble and be like, it's never going to go down again, well, hopefully it doesn't go down again, ladies and gentlemen. But these moves right here that you see Bitcoin doing are consistent with them loading up and reversing back out again. Logic would say, based on the daily time frame for my holders out there has still yet been confirmation that price has invalidated the 5 and 13 EMA. The more times they test this 5 and 13 EMA, look, this is the 5 EMA, right? I don't like using moving averages other than the volume weighted average price and moving averages on certain time frames, because moving averages are somewhat laggard, but it doesn't mean that I can't extract information about what people are thinking about them. People place orders at the moving averages, okay? And that's where you see them aggressively move price and reverse from, because people are sat with orders there. Whether they are liquidations, whether they are stops, it doesn't matter. I know I'm going to get a psychological response from the marketplace when it hits the moving average, when it crosses the 50 EMA, when it crosses the 200 EMA or the 800 EMA or the 21-day moving average. You see it being discussed all the time in markets across the board, and news anchors, Bitcoin or Bloomberg, might say Bitcoin has now currently crossed over the 50 EMA on the 2-week time frame, and this EMA is very consistent at telling us, you know what I mean? So look, the golden mean, you know, the golden ratio or the golden cross, like, or whatever it is, okay? So Bitcoin hasn't broken this 5 EMA, but where the confirmation that you really want to start considering either doing some DCA on Bitcoin, because remember, DCA is on the principle that things are moving up. You've got to be content that Bitcoin can drop from the top side of this area here. Where is it? You've got to be willing to accept that Bitcoin can drop 14% in one day, or have a range of 14%. It can drop that much. That's fine. You've got to be cool with that. You should encourage that if you are doing DCA with Bitcoin. Because if the trend is consistent to the upside, then we know that they're going to go down and they're going to end up coming back up. The more V-shaped plays we see, and what we want to see is this. We really want to see Bitcoin consolidating. The more consolidation that we see, the more we are inclined to believe that they are preparing price to continue to mark it up, okay? When you start seeing this volatile behavior right here, that's when it starts to make us question, what are they actually trying to do here? Are they just quickly trying to hit liquidations, bring it back up again, consolidate a little bit? Is there a bigger picture coming into play? I mean, looking at the actual the spot ETFs, you know, things are still looking as normal. They haven't updated it yet, but things are looking promising. They are down a little bit, but come on. Bitcoin's at all-time high. There's no problems there. Looking at the volumes, let's just quickly refresh this stuff right here. Look, these cumulative spot Bitcoin volumes is just going up. Look what we are now. March the 11th hasn't been updated just yet, but that's 113 billion. That's obviously going to be more tomorrow when they update this, okay? It's just going crazy. Like, there's just been madness, and this is the result of it, which makes you then think and say, hold on a second. If I haven't seen Bitcoin break below the 5 EMA on the daily time frame, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are holders right now, you don't need to be doing anything other than just monitoring Bitcoin at these price points. Bitcoin would need to close below the 67,000 point for you to start assuming maybe there could be an opportunity for me to load up on Bitcoin, okay? On the assumption that that point that it breaks from, it's going to consolidate in this range and then look to try and come back up again, okay? You'd need to be seeing this behavior. You'd need to see Bitcoin break into the 5 and 13 EMA, wait for the next candle or the next day to effectively ride the move back up again. Where did we see this last time? Well, what I'd like you to do, guys, okay, is I'd like you guys to go and watch the live streams from, was it there? It was here. There we are. Go and watch the live streams back in November, all right? That's just before Bitcoin made and cleared this range. And this concept that we were talking about the concept that we're talking about right now about the 5 and 13 EMA for the holders, okay? We're talking about it here. So go to the 15th of November on the live streams and just listen to what we were talking about on the daily time frame, how each candle on the 5 and 13 EMA, if it breaks the 5 and 13 EMA, wait for the next candle to close above that or below, and you'll know exactly where you stand. If you look at Bitcoin's behavior in this period here, you'll see that it failed to close below the 5 and 13 EMA in a sequence. So here it is, closed below the 5 and 13 EMA, ended up closing above it on the next candle, okay? The next candle tried to close below the 5 and 13 EMA, couldn't do it. Next candle closed above it. Then you keep seeing it happening. This candle tried to close below the 50 EMA. I mean, the 5 and 13 EMA. Next candle would confirm it, straight back up. And when you start running that dialogue with yourself as a holder, this is where you are doing DCA. It's these areas that you do DCA, okay? Because then when you stop doing the DCA, the logic would say that you would be in the right move. So then Bitcoin would then continue to go away from it. And if it doesn't breach beyond the 5 and 13 EMA, which you can see here, it hasn't broken it at all. The next candle closes above it. So when it breaks the 13 EMA, you wait for the next candle. Look what happened there. It closed above the 5 and 13 EMA, traded below it, but then closed above it. Sets the tone, they're marking up. Okay? The same thing is happening right now. But the great thing is, Bitcoin is nowhere near the 5 and 13 EMA. So now you're getting more information. So now the next question is, what is tomorrow's candle going to look like? Well, if you want the proof that this candle has effectively set up Bitcoin to continue to climb, you have to then wait for tomorrow's close. Because then that will give you more weight in understanding that this move to the downside on Bitcoin was initially an attempt to start loading up Bitcoin on the bids, pick it up to reverse it back up again. So you've effectively got now 2 hours for us to understand if this candle is going to hold above the 5. So if it holds above the 5 EMA, we've passed the first criteria. We don't need to worry about Bitcoin trading below the 5 or 13 because it's nowhere near it. So then we wait for tomorrow's candle. Now, if tomorrow's candle, you see Bitcoin drop back down below the 5 EMA, and it comes to this time, again, tomorrow, 9 p.m. UK time, where we go live, and we then see Bitcoin's price at this point, okay? We then want to know that if Bitcoin does have the proof to continue higher, then before the close, it will need to try and get as close as it can above the 5 EMA, which would then add more weight to you doing DCA in that range to see Bitcoin continue up. Because what you're looking for is you're looking for a big candle like this. You're looking for a candle which is the result of them playing around in this range. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? Go back to the live streams on Wednesday, the 15th of November last year. It's not too far away. And just watch those live streams. Watch that week of live streams because I make reference to this same logic about the 5 and 13 EMA, how waiting for the next day's candle to confirm if the move below or above the moving averages is sustainable to then continue price higher in the later future. Okay? Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? Tina is an algorithm. What's this? Any questions? Tina, when Bitcoin drops down aggressively with red vectors but V-shaped back up without any vectors, does this show that there are not enough aggressive buyers? It's not that it doesn't show that there's enough aggressive buyers. What it shows, okay, so let's just go into that right now. All right, look. There will always be buyers and sellers. But what you really want to be saying to yourself is there will always be a supply, okay? So look, red vector candles mark prices down, all right? We've had the move away from the moving averages, away from the VWAP, and then you get this nice little stopping volume candle right here. Now, for anybody that is new to the hybrid system, sorry I'm repeating this, but I just want to cater for everyone, okay? On the Traders Reality website, there is a free course. Just go and take it. Costs you no money, but you just got to become a bronze member. Get yourself over there and take this free course. It talks to you about everything that I'm talking about right now, from the moving averages to the psychological levels, even the vector candles. You get a nice PDF for you to explore what they are, where to expect them, the time frames, and how they are represented on different time frames. We break it all down on this free course. Now, there are other courses on there that you can buy, which is the scalping course, but only take those courses if you are fully understanding the hybrid system, okay? That's why there's a free course to break it all down for you. And then there's an EXO Charts course on there as well that you can take, which principally talks about the logic of the semicircles, or as the gentleman likes to put, the gumdrops instead, okay? So go check those out. And by the way, there is a 20% discount on the Traders Reality website, where you get 20% off your first month off the Platinum membership, okay? Where that is where everything is, from the masterclass sessions, the block trade principle that we talk about. There's a whole masterclass session on there. And then this logic about the bid and ask is right there as a masterclass session for gold and platinum members, where we break down the understanding of how to read this stuff right here on EXO Charts and on this platform and on the Bookmap as well, which has got me thinking, where's my Bookmap right now? Let's have a look. Where is BTC? Here we go. So right now we're trading below the VWAP itself, okay? Now let's just go back to where we were, because answering the gentleman's question about the V-shaped plays. Just look at what happened at V-shaped plays, okay? When you don't see a vector candle recovery coming into play straight away. Well, let's just zoom out a second. Look at this. The Bookmap is a representation of the buying and selling of limit orders. And you can see these bubbles right here are a representation of the delta. Now, negative delta tells you that people are selling, because the delta is the net of the difference between the buyers and the sellers. But we look at it differently, because we know that when bids are coming into play, passive buyers are coming in and taking orders from the aggressive sellers. And when aggressive sellers get caught in a specific zone where they no longer can sell into, or as they can no longer sell as aggressively into the bids, because the bids are holding out, holding price and absorbing all of those orders, that's where you get these V-shaped plays and these reversals, okay? Notice that the lowest point on Delta on Bitcoin was when they sold 307 Bitcoin at that price point. Don't worry too much about the denomination of the Delta. Understand the behavior and what it tells you. What it tells you is, as the negative Delta shows its hand, that tells you that everyone is selling, which is why everyone sells when they see price going down. But what's going on inside of that zone is absorption, maybe exhaustion, where there's lots of people trying to sell in one instance and they're not able to get that order to push it down. Everyone's like, oh my God, the Nasdaq's going down. The S&P's dropping, quickly going short, short, short. Bitcoin's dropping, short it, short it. Well, you can only sell if someone is buying, and you can only buy if someone is selling, this is why price reverses from one point to the next. It's not because of a candlestick pattern. It's not because there's a magical support and resistance. It's just the supply at that point in time had stopped. So the market then has to move away from those zones so that it can maintain the continuous ebb and flow of transactions that market maker has gone into bed and business with these exchanges to make sure that you can go long and you can go short with no worries of slippage or missing opportunities. Okay, that's why price reverses, in my opinion, when there is this battle or the auction between the buyer and the seller, who's controlling. Okay, and that's what happens with Bitcoin's V-shape. Now, the gentleman's question pretty much says, here we go, is that, look at it, it's doing it again. You tricky, you funny dude, look at that. Wow. That is ignition algo, man. That is, I remember speaking. Man, when you see that, that's the algorithm like trying to move price, trying to force it somewhere. That's crazy. It's been a long time since we've seen that. But anyways, back into the V-shape. Taking that logic of how aggressive everyone has been dropping and this move back up, okay? That's because they're hitting the offers, okay? The bids have been absorbed. This is where the move is. And if you don't see vector candles, there are vector candles if you just don't see them on the higher time frames. Go to the 4-minute time frame. Most likely, is that a vector candle right there? Green vector, if I'm correct? Don't even know. Here we go. No vectors on there. 3-minute time frame. This is where it helps to go into different time frames when you're trading on the hybrid system. Got a stop in volume candle right there, another stop in volume candle, another stop in volume candle. Go to the 1 minute time frame, more than likely going to see vector candles right there. There's a green vector candle region right there. They're trying to shift out, blue vector, sorry. So there's a blue vector candle. There's a blue vector there, green vector. So even though you don't see it on the higher time frames, there will be vectors inside. Even if you were to go down to the 30-second time frame, look, go back into that point, you will see vector candles. The vectors inside of this range and this range right here, green vector, shift out, look left, you can see there will always be a vector, okay? If you don't see it on the higher time frames, it doesn't disprove the idea that if you don't get a vector candle on the V-shaped play that you shouldn't take it. You've got to understand where you are in the chart, okay? Look, this didn't show us vector candles, but there will be vectors inside. And sometimes there may not be any vectors, but what's going on here is it's the market maker in principle rushing or lifting the market, okay? He's forcing the market to revert back to the norm of what it was previously where it was able to transact. That's why sometimes you see price make a reversal like this, drops to the downside, comes all the way back up, then you start seeing a vector candle coming into play and it starts to roll over from this point. And that's when you start seeing the vectors. When you see that, after you see a red vector candle move to the downside like this, and then a reversal back up with no vectors, the first vector candle that you see appearing in this range is usually going to dictate what the asset's going to do next. Let me give you an example. Where could I give you that example? It's not really here. Well, here is an example here, sort of. V-shaped play, price drops down, comes all the way back up. Then it starts to roll back down. Then you see vectors. That gives you the heads up that things could be going back in your favor. Look left for the vectors, trade back into it, stop in volume candle principle, happy days. Okay? It's about going back in the charts and trying to find the logic and training your eyes to just recognize it. You don't have to be in the trade every time to understand something. Just say, okay, I'm looking at this chart right now. I expect Bitcoin to come back to this point later on. You come back to the chart, you see it goes back there later on. Okay, I'm going to put that to the test. I'm going to open a trade and trade that same logic. So then you go and take the trade. And then next time you come back and you see it and say, okay, then, it didn't do it. Right, I got stopped out. Well, let me just wait and see what happens. Well, it then ends up going back in your favor and it goes to that point. So what do you learn? Well, you learn that you might need to expand your stop a little bit, or you may be using too much leverage, which has then led you effectively to be shaken out. So the next time you go into the trade, the next time you see the same setup, you then say to yourself, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that I use low leverage, I give myself a decent stop, and I allow my asset to really have breathing room. Because if without the breathing room, I'm not going to be able to factor in something like this happening in the chart. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? What else? Any other questions, guys? Are we cool with that? Where to learn focus on order book? Tino, when can we expect to drop down to 20K? Tino, can you bring back the tunes before the live streams? Yeah, to get the most out of Tino's chat, high chat, pay attention. I guess so. Yeah, where to learn to focus on the order book? Well, look, the only way that you can really, like I said to you before, okay? EXO Charts. This might look absolutely crazy to you, but that's because I'm always using this for reference, different VWAPs and what have you. But when I'm actively trading, my attention is drawn very close to the chart and I am actively watching this. I'm watching these little things here, these little candlesticks. I'm telling you now, if you're going to get involved in this sort of software, whether it's Bookmap, EXO Charts, or even TradingView, okay? How you use them is going to dictate how you're going to be able to benefit from actually extracting from the marketplace, okay? When I'm watching the NASDAQ, I'm paying attention not so much to the orders. This is irrelevant. It's 132, 104, 118, 112. That's BS to me. I take a look back and I say, okay, then what do I see more of? I can see a lot of bids coming in. Bids, 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 bids. Oh, offers. Okay, offers, zoom out, structure. They're back in that same zone again. Offers were and bids were offers started to come into play in here, which can tell me that they could actually start looking to lift price. Okay, cool. Price come back into that point from there. Fine. Okay. So I can only assume that they're going to move away from this point and then aggressively try and take out this imbalance of asks over here. All right, I'm on the right track here. I need to wait and watch how the candlestick moves. And when you see it moving up and down, up and down, up and down, you'll get a feel. This is when you start to intuitively trade, when you're getting a feel for how it's moving. And I might sound crazy saying this, but I've sat enough time to witness it happen over and over again. When you focus on your asset and you really watch how the candlestick moves, you will start to understand how a zone's going to hold or a zone's not going to hold. Okay? Going back into the screenshots right here. Look. Where is it? Was it this one? Wait, this one here. Okay? So it was this one right here. This is where I started to pay attention to the NASDAQ and the S&P. Because they come back into that zone. I've got no imbalances in here. And I'm watching the candlesticks going up and down, up and down, up and down. I can see a VWAP up there. I've got the daily value area high. I've got the daily high that's not really been hit. Okay, they tried it earlier, but they're probably going to want to go for it again because there is somewhat interest inside of that range up there. So I'm logically going to assume that if they can hold this point here, I'm going to want to see higher prices, okay? And I'm watching the candlestick, it's moving up and down, then all of a sudden I then see price come down and then instantly it rejects and shoots back up again. That to me is a bid coming in, holding price, and the offers are pulling the orders saying, hold on, don't want to get caught out in this, start offering out higher, mark it up. So the bids are lifting the offer price. They're marking it up. Then I see this move up and then NASDAQ starts climbing. S&P starts making a move up. And I'm then fulfilling my logic that this point of the candlestick that I was paying attention to is showing me that the bids at that point were showing promise to lift price up by hitting into the ask, okay? And lifting it. Because there was support there to buy up because they were buying as it was dropping. Now this area here is where they wanted to move price and see a return on those orders, which is what led to that move to the upside. I'm having that same thought process when they come back into the VWAPs. Look, what happens? You're seeing the same candlesticks. Look, one push, two push. Yeah, those two candlesticks. Don't just look at it, oh, there's two of those candlesticks there. Don't look at it like that. Look at how the candlestick is behaving. Order flow is all about understanding getting the feel for how it moves. Okay? There's that candle again. Push, push. When you see those two candlesticks, after they've been marking price lower, and you see these two big candlesticks, you think, hold on a second, man. They're going to do something here. Take the trade. If it's all marking up, and you've got vector candle recovery to the left of the chart, which is what the NASDAQ had, you only can trade into that logic. Look, they come back into the same VWAP that we marked off previously, come back into that same zone. They're no longer wanting to sell from that point now, so they've built up their bids, and then they've shifted all the way out again. That's what you want to be doing, even with Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. Watch it. Pay attention to how the candlestick moves. Now, Bitcoin is a bit of a boring asset, okay? But when you're looking at it from EXO Charts or even off Bookmap, you're going to get a feel for how this thing moves. And then that's when your intuition starts coming into play. Because trading every day is all about intuition. It's about how often do you expose yourself to a decision that needs to be made, whether it's to cut a trade or take a loss, take a win, change direction, look for a new move, okay? Again, you can simply just say, yep, rise, retrace, continuation lower. You can simplify it like that. But you add more weight to your plays when you start understanding it is all the psychology of the candlesticks and order flow. That's it. And justifying why, when you see green vector candles right here, why Bitcoin's going to be making its way back to those points. Okay? And that's realistically, in my opinion, the hybrid system. That's the hybrid system. The hybrid system it can be a system where once you've spent enough time studying it, can be a system where you engage in your intuition, because if you've sat down and watched the hybrid system, you'll know that they're recovering vector candles that are local, okay? The ones that are close by. Just zoom out. Look at these vector candles that you see in front of you. They're coming back to them at some point. Look at that vector candle up there, red vector. See it drop back down, shift back up again. Happy days, they recovered it. Even down to the last bit, they recovered it. All you've got to do is just say, I'm going to pick a time frame. I'm going to stick with that time frame. 5-minute time frame is my time frame. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick with that, and I'm going to open the chart in the morning. I'm going to look at vector candle and say, okay, I expect it to come back to this vector candle. Put the phone down, go about your day. Come back, have a look. What did it do? Did it come back to it? Well, it didn't come back to it. Okay. Are you going to monitor it? Yeah, okay. Okay, then what happens then? Next day, you go to have a look. It comes back to it. Okay, so there's a bit of a time delay. Maybe I used the wrong vector candle. Maybe I might look for a vector candle closer by, because then if I do have a vector candle close by and I see it always getting recovered, that can be an opportunity for me to trade into that zone. That's the hybrid system, in my opinion. Can you talk about XRP? Well, XRP. Well, XRP. It had its day, came down, recovery of the vector candle at the 50 EMA. More than likely going to keep on coming down. They're bidding out. Look, there's a look, it's red across the board. But guys, we've had significant gains, man. You've only got to go and have a look at Bitcoin over the last quarter. And look, the last month, like March, 17%. Here we go. What was it? Now it's at 15%. February was 43%. You've got to be down with this volatility, because that's what happens, all right, in my opinion. Going into the data tomorrow, what have we got? Okay, Wednesday is pretty much a free day tomorrow, but we've got the bond auction as well. It's a free market tomorrow, in my opinion, until Thursday, where you've got the core PPI coming out. So tomorrow is really a free day. So really, tonight could have been the reason they dropped everything to bring it back up tonight in Asia. You know what? I'm going to have a look at it. I'm going to have a look at ADA. Sorry to all the ADA guys. I mean, ADA's fared pretty well. Let's be honest. Look at this. This was ADA's psychological range last, I think it was, yeah, in February. That was the psychological range for ADA, man. Look at how they come back to that point and reverse from it. That is absolutely crazy. Look at that for precision, man. Unbelievable. That is crazy. Wow. So what do I see happening with ADA? The stopping volume candles are giving me the clue. They're sweeping liquidity for bids. They may not be done with the bids, ladies and gentlemen. They could be coming back into this price point for ADA. 63 cents could be another loading point. Okay. Meme day tomorrow, maybe. What else have we got? ADA was a stable coin. Vince, I remember the shoes, man. I remember the shoes. Yeah, yeah. Let's just have a look at what other altcoins are currently on the scene right now. ARPA's doing well. Mark Maker tokens coming into play. Doge is there. See, volume is relatively light. I do believe tonight that they're going to actually do some flavor this evening. Okay, and the fact that Bitcoin has held so well above the 50 EMA is doing great for great at the 50 EMA. I'm going to give you this, ladies and gentlemen. Just be mindful if Bitcoin is holding below the cloud of the 50 EMA. If it stays below the cloud itself, then might be a little bit of an issue with that. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I've kept you, again, way too long. I'm so sorry about that, but have yourself a wonderful evening. Make sure you like and subscribe on the way out and hit the notification bell so you can tune into more flavor like this. Hope you've enjoyed it tonight. Been pretty chilled out, all right? Mad love and respect, guys. Take care of yourselves. Peace.